I'm recording this special video message today because there's an event taking place in Boston tomorrow that is vitally important to anyone who is concerned about social justice, equality, the fate of the Palestinian people, or the conditions facing working families here in the United States. Steve Kirschbaum, the leader of Local 8751 of the United Steelworkers, which is the union of the Boston school bus drivers, is on trial. He's facing criminal charges, but these charges are essentially retaliation for the fact that he's been one of the most militant leaders of school bus drivers and one of the most militant anti-war activists and one of the best fighters for freedom and equality in this country for the last several decades. Local 8751 of the Boston School Bus Drivers Union is a union that doesn't just focus on improving the conditions of its own members. It's a union that has fought against racism. It's a union that has marched against police brutality. It's a union that's taken to the streets in defense of Palestine. During Occupy Boston, they set up a tent in support of the occupiers. They even protested Sarah Palin, the ruthless racist, when she came to Boston. And it's their militant fight back, their strength, their rank-and-file struggle that has made them one of the strongest unions in the country. The Boston school bus drivers have probably the best contract of any school bus drivers in the entire country. Veolia, a right-wing corporation that is closely linked to Israel and its crimes against the Palestinian people, has been brought in by the city of Boston, and now there's an attempt to break the Boston School Bus Drivers Union and destroy this militant union that has provided such good and decent wages for its workers, and in addition has always been an internationalist union standing with people around the world fighting for justice. Now, we all need to be doing everything we can to be drawing attention to this case and calling on people all over the world to demand that the charges against Steve Kirschbaum be immediately dropped. Steve Kirschbaum is innocent of the crimes that he's being charged with. There are scores of witnesses who will testify to that. These charges are simply retaliation for the fact that he is a radical leader of the bus drivers and a radical leader of the People's Movement for Justice, and he's achieved so many great things over the last few decades. The school bus drivers are fighting to defend their livelihoods against Veolia, and it really shows how all the struggles of workers, it's all connected. You go to Palestine, the workers are struggling against Zionism, they're fighting against Israel and its crimes, and those crimes are carried out by corporations like Veolia. Here in the U.S., bus drivers are fighting for their livelihood, and who are they fighting against? Veolia, a corporation closely tied up with Israel. All over the world, workers are fighting for justice, and the struggles are all connected. The world is ruled by a small group of billionaire monopolists, bankers, and they have the power. But in Boston and in Palestine and elsewhere, we're seeing that the fight and the resistance of the people has a real impact. And that's why we should all be paying close attention to what happens in the courtroom in Boston. And we should all be loudly demanding that the charges against Steve Kirschbaum be dropped, that Local 8751 of the United Steelworkers, which is the Boston School Bus Drivers Union, be protected. And we should all be in the streets making clear that we won't let them come after this revolutionary local of a fighting union. Thanks.